Cristiano Ronaldo's incredible journey of overcoming. A motivational story of never giving up. Cristiano Ronaldo was at a point in his career where everyone around him began to believe he had reached his peak. He had already won titles, awards, and global fame, but inside there was something more, an insatiable desire to prove he still had much to offer. During a crucial game, he suffered a serious injury. When he fell to the ground, silence filled the stadium. The pain was intense, but the fear that this injury might mark the end of his career was even more frightening. The diagnosis came quickly, a difficult recovery with the possibility that he might never be the same player again. The doctor's words and the worried looks from his teammates made him wonder, is this the end? Have I already given everything I could? But Cristiano knew he couldn't surrender to doubt. He refused to accept the diagnosis as a sentence. Determined to prove he could still return to the highest level, he began his recovery journey. In the early days, the pain was unbearable. Every movement seemed like a greater challenge than the last. But the biggest obstacle wasn't physical, it was the mental battle. The fear of failing again, of not being able to return to form, and the internal voices telling him that age and injuries had taken his best. In moments of weakness, he thought about giving up, but the feeling of defeat was stronger than any negative thought. He knew his greatest enemy wasn't in his legs, but in his mind. So he focused. With each new exercise, each new step, he told himself, I am stronger than this. I can overcome anything. Each effort brought him closer to his goal. Time passed, and he gradually regained his physical strength. Each day of physiotherapy was a small victory, and his body began to respond. It wasn't easy. Every training session demanded more from his mind than his body, but he never stopped believing. He knew that true victory wouldn't come from mere physical recovery, but from the emotional and mental resilience he would need to return to the field with the same confidence as before. He didn't just want to play football again, he wanted to be the best, and for that, he needed to be mentally stronger. Finally, the moment arrived. He was back in training with his teammates. He wasn't the same as before. His movements were more cautious, more careful, but he was there, and that was all that mattered. It wasn't about being perfect, but about being back, overcoming the limitations that had once held him back. He knew that each training session was preparation, not just for his return, but to show himself that he could be even better, more resilient, and more determined than before. When the big game arrived, Cristiano stepped onto the field with his heart pounding. The crowd cheered, but he knew that wasn't why he was there. He didn't want to prove anything to others but to himself. The game was tough, and emotions were running high. When he finally scored the decisive goal, the stadium erupted in joy. But for him, the greatest triumph wasn't in the goal, but in everything he had overcome to get there. The fear, the pain, the doubt, he had conquered it all. He was back. In a post-game interview, Cristiano spoke to the press about his journey. I never gave up. With every challenge, I became stronger. True victory isn't about winning, but about not giving up, even when it seems impossible. The words were simple but profound. He had not only triumphed in football, but also in life. As he reflected on his recovery, he knew that true victory wasn't in the trophies or medals, but in the courage to rise after every fall. The mental battle he fought to overcome the injury was the true achievement. He had learned that success wasn't about never falling, but about always getting back up. And so, as he looked at the field where it all happened, he smiled. Because he knew that his greatest achievement wasn't a goal, but the ability to overcome his own limits, to continue reinventing himself, and to prove that, with determination, there are no limits to what can be achieved. Morale of the story: true success lies in never giving up, even in the face of the greatest difficulties.